Book 13 of 2020 was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal, Mohtar and Max Gladstone. So I bought this book because, as I've said in my other reviews, I love books about time, and I was specifically looking on Amazon for books about time travel, kind of jumping across time threads and parallel time. And I love stuff about time, like Time Traveler's Wife I really liked, the first 15 Lives of Harry August I really liked, Replay I really liked. I'm trying to think if there have been any more. I can only think of like The Time Machine, but that one wasn't amazing. So I love things about time, but whenever I read about time, I just remembered one, Extracted, that was quite good as well. Whenever I read about time, there's always kind of significant problems with the books. So the concept's always really good, but the delivery is always really weak. It seems like people that write in kind of like sci-fi genres are not great writers, because, they're kind of like lyrical, poetical, kind of good writing, good prose that you usually find, and good characterization. It's usually in different genres than sci-fi. And I don't know if that's because that's the audience and the writing for that genre, but I would, if I was writing a book, I would like the sci-fi element, but the good writing, which you don't tend to find, unfortunately. So this book basically is like a modern dystopic Romeo and Juliet. And I say that because there's basically two characters that fall farcically in love with each other through letters. So they never met each other, they don't know anything about each other, but they fall in love with each other. So it's pretty much like Romeo and Juliet, ridiculous story. And it's essentially, there's two factions, so there's red and there's blue, and these two factions are at war with each other for kind of control over the timelines, or time strands they call it. And essentially, like, they're at war because they can either save somebody, and this person might, I don't know, be I'm trying to think of like a random connection, might be like the nurse maid of somebody, and then they survive, and then they go on to kind of wage wars and revolutions or whatever. So kind of like someone really random that you wouldn't think would make a difference, they either save that person or they go and kill that person. So they're kind of like trying to be, winning that kind of time strand so that they're in control of like the future, or history, however you want to kind of perceive it, because obviously it's time. And they are kind of doing these things, but it never really kind of goes into detail about time or about what's happening in these times. And I really wanted them to kind of delve into that, but it's not about that. It's about these two people in these factions that are falling in love with each other through letters. So it's kind of like the epistolary, narrative. And it's quite confusing because it's like you're not really quite sure what's going on. And I think red faction is kind of like computers, like robots, and the blue faction is kind of like nature. So there's a little bit as well of kind of a dichotomy between nature and technology, but it's never explored. So it's kind of like wanting more kind of exploration about that, but it's just kind of, it's just there, there if you want to think about it, but not explored. And it's not really about like time travel or anything like that. It says time war. It's nothing to do with that. It's just these two characters that are basically writing letters to each other about how they've been watching each other and how like they've been falling in love with each other, and they're both female as well, which is fine, but then I guess maybe the computer isn't any gender, but it kind of came across like it was two kind of females, and that's kind of it. Like, that's all that happens. And there's kind of one really good part of it, which is where there's kind of like a causal loop, where at the end the character, and I'm not going to spoil it in case you do want to read it, but the character is actually like the older version of the character is actually in the younger version's world and always has been, but they haven't realised it. So I thought that was really good, but that's not explored again. It's just there. the focus is on these two characters and the relationship between these two characters. So it's not anything to do with what it is, you know, posited to be about. You know, it says, oh, actually reading the back is, you know, I'll read it to you. So it says, this is from Madeline Miller, author of Cirque, which, this book has it all: treachery and love, lyricism and gritty action, existential crisis and space opera scope, not to mention time travelling super agents. It sounds shit, doesn't it? In fact, this is what they've said about it. Among the ashes of a dying world, an agent of the commandment finds a letter. It reads, "Burn before reading." Red and blue, two rival agents, hell-bent on securing the best possible future for their warring factions, strike up an unlikely correspondence. But what started as a taunt, a battlefield boast, grows into something more, something epic and romantic, something that could change the past and the future. This actually sounds rubbish. I don't know why I bought this book. I think I'm sure when I read about it, it said something about it being about time. And I was like, oh yeah, I was thinking of like Adjustment Bureau. That's another film that I really like that's about time. And I was kind of thinking it was a bit like that, but it's not like that. It's rubbish. And the thing that really frustrated me the most about it is that it's really badly written. Like the grammar in it is so poor. And I was just reading it going, you don't write like that. Like, this is not how you're supposed to write. Like, the kind of, maybe they're playing around with how you write, I don't know, or whether it's American writing, and American writing is not great anyway, I don't know. But I think one of the authors is like a university professor in creative writing, so I'm just like, surely you should know how to write, but they don't. So it was just really frustrating for me to read. I just wanted to like chuck it across the room and never pick it up again. I don't recommend reading it. I was like really underwhelmed the whole way through. I appreciate that what they were trying to do, but I was less interested about them as characters. Like, they were really underdeveloped, and there wasn't much about them anywhere. And so I was just kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend reading it.